colleagues from our operations center who are here to observe today's briefing. Obviously, our operations center is really a nerve center for the department. We were just saying that many of us literally could not do our jobs without the operations center. So appreciate them being here, and even more so appreciate the work they do every single day. I have a couple things at the top, and then we'll get to your questions. First, to meet the Secretary's goals to modernize American diplomacy, win the competition for talent, and ensure that all applicants can present a full picture of their qualifications, the Department of State today is announcing improvements to the Foreign Service selection process. The department is moving away from the Foreign Service Officer test as a pass-fail gateway test and expanding focus on a candidate's education and experience for a more holistic approach in the selection process. Starting with the June 2022 Foreign Service test takers, all candidates will proceed to the Qualification Evaluations Panel, or QEP, where their performance on the Foreign Service test will be one factor taken into consideration along with the personal narratives that they'll submit during the registration process. Combined with scores from the Foreign Service exam and the Qualification Evaluations Panel, which reviews each candidate's work history, education, experience, and 6 brief written narratives based on Foreign Service core precepts, that will give the department a more balanced view of candidates who will be selected for the next phase of the selection process, the Foreign Service oral assessment. This change is happening in the midst of what is expected to be the best year for Foreign Service intake in a decade. I think many of you saw the news earlier this month that we had the largest class of incoming officers, more than just under 200 officers, and we expect this year to be the best year for our intake in a decade. It is the most significant change to the Foreign Service selection process since 1930, and we anticipate this change will result in identifying a more qualified pool of applicants. Next and finally, the United States is deeply concerned by the Tunisian president's decision to unilaterally restructure Tunisia's Independent High Authority for Elections, or ISIE. A genuinely independent election authority is critical given its constitutionally mandated role in Tunisia's upcoming referendum and parliamentary elections. The United States has consistently communicated to Tunisian leaders the importance of upholding the independence of key democratic institutions and ensuring Tunisia returns to democratic governance. We remain committed to supporting the Tunisian people and their democratic path and renew our call for an inclusive and transparent political and economic reform process with civil society, labor unions, and political parties represented at the table. With that, happy to take your questions. Matt.
Thanks. Yeah, just first briefly on the FSO testing thing. You're aware that this is not being universally claimed, correct? That there's particularly AFSA that registers and what seem to be some pretty significant concerns about this having been done without any input from them, without any other federal employee group, whether you want to call it a union or not. Will their concerns at all, do they matter?
We are in a regular discussion with outside groups, including, of course, in this case, AFSA. AFSA is an important organization. Their input is and will be especially valuable on these types of decisions. I am also aware, Matt, that the previous, or still the current process, also endured some criticism, given a narrow focus on a pass-fail Foreign Service exam that didn't take into account the applicant's holistic qualifications, what that person has done, that person's educational experience, that person's individual circumstances. We are confident that this restructured and revised process will help us select an applicant pool that is qualified, that is experienced, and that brings to bear the talents and diversity that this country offers.
Well, then why not eliminate the exam altogether?
We still need various metrics to measure potential new colleagues against. So the Foreign Service exam will continue to be one such metric, but we're going to look at a more holistic picture.
So would you would equate this to colleges and universities no longer requiring SAT or ACT scores for incoming students, or how you know?
Well, look, we are gratified that we have, and especially in recent months, received a tremendous amount of interest in this department. And with so many applicants, thousands upon thousands of applicants, we need various metrics against which to weigh applicants. So the SAT example is somewhat analogous. I'm not sure it's a perfect comparison, But
Well,
just as the
you
SAT
knew
is done,
that the test was administered by the same people as the SAT, back in my day at least. But if you're getting so many more applicants, wouldn't you think that